haunted by the past. Discover the sinister survival instincts of humans 1.8 million years ago. The wind howled outside, screeching like banshees through the shattered frame of Lisa's empty home. Shadows sprawled across the walls as though the very house was alive with the weight of grief, suffocating whispers twisting memories into torturous knots. Alone, she buried herself in work. Her laptop flickered like a dying pulse on the kitchen table, desperately illuminating the bleak abyss of her life as a single mother. The laughter of her children, Ellie and Max, was a distant echo, replaced now by silence and the eerie creaks of a house too full of loss. Suddenly, her phone vibrated. She glanced down, brows furrowed at an unknown number. "You're being watched. He isn't who he seems." The words slithered into her mind, wrapping around her heart like a cold snake. A prank, she thought, a sick joke by some nameless tormentor. Yet the feeling of dread clawed at her insides like a feral beast. Days turned into nights, the cycle dragging on, and Ellie began to talk about her imaginary friend. At first, Lisa chuckled it off, thinking it was just a coping mechanism. But Ellie spoke of conversations they never had, of thoughts too intricate for a child's mind. Her games became sinister. They'd watch storms together under a blanket. Ellie's gaze deepening, as if she was communing with something far beyond her years. Lisa felt the tension rising, like a rumble in the distance before a storm. Max, too, was odd lately, wandering off into their neighbor's yard. Mr. Hargrove watched like a hawk from his vine-choked porch, his smile too wide and his eyes too calculating. He offered help, always present but never truly there. Lisa's gut wrenched each time he drew near, a primal instinct forcing her to watch her children closely. Needles of paranoia pricked at her sanity. She scoured the neighborhood's history, unearthed whispers of bone-chilling myths and old tales of neighbors lost to the shadows. The soil of their suburban homes spoke of buried secrets, longings smothering in deceit. On delving deeper, her dreams morphed into chilling horrors of rituals long forgotten. Sacrifice, trust warped into entrapment. Was everyone in this neighborhood just playing a game, pulling strings? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Tension surged as Lisa prepared to confront Mr. Hargrove. She'd gather her courage, armed with knowledge and frantic resolve. The children, by then, were too quiet, like the calm before a tornado. As she reached for the door, a scream erupted from the house, a blood-curdling wail that froze her blood and sparked raw fear coursing through her veins. Was it her children, or was something lurking in the darkest corners of her mind? Enigmas surrounded her as she stood there, hand poised to knock, knowing the line between danger and safety was thinner than paper. What horrors would she face when she walked through that door? Lisa's heart thundered in her chest, a wild rhythm drowning out the insidious whisper of doubt. Panic seized her throat as the wail echoed again, a desperate call that twisted the fabric of her reality. She turned on her heel, her instincts clawing at her to run, to escape whatever nightmare awaited her inside. But deep down, a visceral need to protect her children ignited a fire within her. She hurried back inside, the door slamming shut behind her. The house was too quiet now, unnervingly so. The air thickened, saturated with a tension that felt almost alive. Her breath quickened, and she dashed toward the sound, following the trail of anguish to the living room. "Ellie, Max." Her voice trembled, barely escaping her lips. She burst into the room, the flickering light revealing shadows that warped into grotesque shapes across the walls. On the floor, Max sat with wide, terrified eyes, his back pressed against the sofa. But it was Ellie who captivated her attention, standing eerily still in the middle of the room, the brightness of her little face replaced by a glaze, as if something had stolen her essence. "Ellie, what's wrong?" Lisa reached out, but her daughter turned slowly, eyes glinting with an unsettling glimmer, a familiar look that felt both comforting and terrifying. "He said we can play forever," Ellie whispered. Her voice held a strange tone, flat, and cold. Who said that? Lisa's stomach knotted tightly. The friend in the shadows, Ellie responded, a slight smile touching her lips that sent a shiver racing down Lisa's spine. Too many nights had passed with secrets building within these walls, secrets that felt heavier than bricks and mortar. She glanced around, heart racing, mirroring Ellie's fixation. Was there something lurking? Was Mr. Hargrove's presence more than just an unsettling feeling? Ellie, come here. Lisa beckoned, unease flooding her. But Ellie stepped back, her eyes locked on an unseen figure, the corners of the room darkening further, swallowing light like a beast ravenous for prey. Lisa's instincts blared alarms. She needed to reach her daughter, to pull her from the depths of whatever darkness enveloped them. Max, stay close. She took a step forward, her resolve forcing her onward despite the overwhelming fear. Mommy, Max squeaked, terror painting his face. It's coming. It's not just Ellie's friend, what do you mean? In that moment, the lights flickered. The howling wind outside intensified, rattling the windows, and Lisa felt it, a change in the air, a spine-tingling presence taking shape at the edge of her conscience. Her heart raced as she took another cautious step, the hairs on the back of her neck standing up. What lay behind her daughter's gaze? Lisa, a voice hissed, sharp and cutting, slicing through the tension like a knife. It was familiar, laced with deceit. Mr. Hargrove, she gasped, stumbling back as the floorboards creaked ominously beneath her. You should listen to her. You know she has learned so much. The figure emerged from the shadows, grinning wider than she believed possible, eyes glinting with a predator's glow. Stay away from my children, Lisa shouted, claws of terror gripping her heart. Too late, she realized. The walls closed in, whispering truths she wasn't ready to face. The darkness wasn't just outside, it was inside her home, in her children. As the shadows gripped her tighter, encasing her in fear, one final thought struck her. This was just the beginning. What would she sacrifice to reclaim her children's souls? And then, a silence so profound it choked her, leaving only the echo of a child's laughter fading into the abyss what awaited her in the void. A cold sweat trickled down Lisa's back as the world around her stood still, suffocating in darkness. Something was breathing. The dark corners of the room stirred, like glowing eyes spying from the abyss. Ellie, Lisa whispered, desperate to reach her. But Ellie remained fixed, the innocence of childhood fading into the dread lurking behind her eyes. Those wide, glazed eyes seemed to pull Lisa in, and every instinct screamed at her to fight. Max whimpered beside her. Mommy, I don't like it, I want to go home. Home. That word felt like a flickering light in an unending night. Lisa's vision swirled. She had to act. Ellie, come back to me. Her voice shook, frustration mixing with fear. She started to step toward her daughter, but the shadows expanded, warping the space around them, swallowing up the walls and ceilings, tightening like a noose. Listen to her, little lady. Mr. Hargrove's voice slithered through the room, heavy with malice. She doesn't see the truth. You're not alone anymore, Ellie. The shadows want you. Lisa felt a chill pierce through her, as it suddenly dawned on her that there wasn't just one shadow. There were many, like hungry ghosts, inching closer, encircling her children. This wasn't just an uninvited guest. It was an entire feast waiting to be devoured. Ellie, you can't let him take you. The struggle was vain. Ellie's smile remained disturbingly serene, that of a child who had found something magical in the dark, while Lisa's heart raced like a trapped animal. Don't fight it. Dear, Mr. Hargrove hissed. The shadows know what you crave. They promised the children an eternity of joy. Let go of the fear. Embrace the darkness. Lisa's heartbeat drummed in her ears as she lunged forward, slamming her hands against the cool, slick surface of the wall for balance. No, she screamed. You're lying to her. But the darkness twisted and the whispers coiled tighter around her. Ellie, please. Remember our bear? The stories we told? She needed to break through. The happy ones, the real ones. A flicker of clarity washed over Ellie, just for a moment. The glazed expression shattered, revealing confusion and fear. Mommy? With that small crack, Lisa felt a rush of hope, a soft glow lighting the battle for her child's soul amidst the relentless shadows. Ellie, take my hand. The moment Ellie teetered toward her, the shadows shrieked and writhed, shriveling into contortions of rage. No, she belongs to us. They clamored as a chill wind swept through the room, a bitter gust that felt like 1,000 icy fingers grazing her skin. Max, stay with me, Lisa called, ignoring the rising panic in her chest. But Max, pushed by an urge to flee, pressed himself against the back of the sofa, eyes wide, reflecting sheer terror. In that instant, what Lisa feared became manifest. The air thickened, choking her, preventing her movement. She felt like a marionette with fraying strings, suspended mid-action. The oppressive weight of shadows forced her to her knees, and her breath hitched. Let her go? She rasped, voicing the silent prayer boiling within. Suddenly, Mr. Hargrove lunged forward, lips parted to voice the sinister secrets of the dark, his eyes glimmering with madness. The world blurred and shook, and she could feel the darkness trying to seep into her very being. But she had to fight. For Ellie. For Max. For herself. The shadows hold tightened around them like a noose. But a spark ignited within Lisa as she pressed her palms to the ground, feeling the cool wood beneath her. Stop. You don't own us, she shouted, voice breaking the bonds of fear, echoing against the walls. The shadows hissed in protest, a cacophony of retaliation that sent vibrations through the air, as if the house itself were alive. Max's terrified voice broke through. Mommy, help. Max. The finality of her plea shattered the center of darkness, making the shadows quiver. The tension crackled hot enough to singe her skin as Lisa rose, every ounce of will poured into her voice. You will not take them. Back to the shadows. She turned back toward Ellie, her heart wildly urging for connection. Please, sweetheart, come to me. But just as light flickered in Ellie's eyes again, the shadowy figure lunged. Everything erupted in blinding noise as the darkness screamed, furious and unyielding. In that agonizing moment, Lisa willed herself forward, arms wide as if she could shield her children with sheer determination alone. But just as she reached for Ellie's small hand, it felt like she hit an invisible wall, a barrier that pushed her back. No, she screamed. The shadows roared, drowning her voice as if to mock her defiance. The laughter from the corner of the room grew louder, a haunting, taunting melody that reverberated through her bones. With panic, Lisa looked around, desperation clawing at her mind. There had to be something more, something she was missing. And then, in the depths of the swirling dark, a pair of glowing eyes locked onto hers. What did they want? What was their true hunger? The eyes were like shards of ice, piercing through the chaos. They were aglow with a promise of despair and an inexplicable knowledge of her deepest fears. Lisa gasped, realization washing over her. These eyes were not merely searching, they were waiting for her to succumb to hopelessness. Ellie, she cried out again, but the name felt feeble, swallowed by the howling darkness surrounding her. The laughter morphed into a symphony of torment, echoing off the walls like a haunted chorus keen on breaking her spirit. The shadows shifted, twisting into forms that beckoned and tormented. They grasped at Ellie, inching closer as if the very air thickened around Lisa. The whispers grew louder, clamoring for her attention, too seductive to ignore. She could be so much more, Mr. Hargrove murmured, his voice dripping with a sickly sweet allure. You just have to let go. Let her embrace her true home among us. Lisa's chest tightened. No, that is not her home. She belongs with us. But Ellie stood transfixed, oblivious to her mother's desperation. The part of Lisa that clung to hope froze, every instinct screaming at her to move, to act. She scanned the room for anything that could pierce the veil of terror and bring her little girl back. The shadows slithered closer, sibilant whispers curling into her ears. Foolish mother, you could join them. You could feel free. Imagine the joy. Images flashed in Lisa's mind. Warm cuddles, laughter ringing in the air, a sense of safety. It all felt like a cruel trick now, so far away and out of reach. She could almost taste the bitter despair that settled on her tongue, a realization that the shadows mirrored her deepest insecurities. Fight it, Ellie. You're stronger than this, she pleaded, shifting to Max, who still trembled in the corner. Max, I need you to help me. We need to stand together. The room shuddered under the weight of Lisa's cry. The shadows hesitated, as if taken aback. For a moment, she could see doubt creeping among their ranks, but that was fleeting. Ellie's serene expression faltered, her lips parted in confusion. Mommy? The word was soft, almost a whisper. Yes, yes. Take my hand. Hope surged again in Lisa's chest, filling her with an urgency she had to share. She reached for Ellie, each heartbeat pounding louder as she fought against the dark current threatening to pull her under. But the shadows recoiled, furious at the glimmer of light they saw in her resolve. They screamed in unison, a cacophony that rattled the walls, warning against the betrayal of their kind. You will not tear apart what is ours. Lisa felt the ground shift beneath her, splintering her focus. Mr. Hargrove lunged forward, a dark specter of malevolence, forcing her to retreat. Come back, Ellie. The scream erupted, raw and primal. The darkness roiled, filling her vision with horror and despair. In a split second of darkness, everything went silent. The pressures of the shadows became thick, smothering her as she felt her heart racing faster than ever. Mommy! Max's voice broke through the void, full of terror. I'm here, Max. I'm here. Just then, the glow from the deep shadows pulsed brighter. A face emerged, a reflection of innocence twisted by despair. Lisa's heart sank as she realized it was not just Ellie this darkness sought. It craved all innocence, and it wouldn't relent until it had consumed what was left. A violent gust tore through the room, rattling the furniture, and Lisa braced herself as the walls shimmered, a realm between reality and nightmare blurring at her fingertips. The shadows reached for her, clawing, their laughter morphing into a haunting rhythm. Despair engulfed her again. What could she do? Ellie, Max, she called, forcing power into her voice, willing them to resist. Suddenly, the glowing eyes shifted, their focus now on Lisa, as though they had sensed her power. What were they? What drew them to her fear? Then, with agonizing clarity, she realized the truth fed them all her doubts, fears, and failures. Why are you? She began, voice trembling. Why do you want us? But at that exact moment, the shadows shrieked once again, a sound so loud it felt like it might shatter the very fabric of the room and her sanity. The glowing eyes narrowed. It was then that the room began to shift, the walls trembling, reality warping as Ellie's light flickered precariously. In a moment that felt eternal, the shadows lunged forward, ready to obliterate her last grasp of hope. No. The darkness surged closer as the ground beneath her trembled violently. Lisa braced herself. If she was to make this stand, it would have to be now. And in that heartbeat of desperate strength, she felt it, a flicker of warmth erupting within her, igniting her spirit. Let us fight them together. She screamed with every ounce of power left, uncertainty slipping away. But what would rise from the ashes of that battle? Would it be salvation, or just another level of darkness? The shadows engulfed her, and the world blackened around her, spiraling into the unknown. The darkness swallowed her whole, an abyss of despair and fury. Just when Lisa felt she might be torn apart by the shadows, something shifted beneath her feet. The ground trembled violently, surging like a heartbeat gone wild. The weight of the darkness grew heavier, dragging her down into an eternal night. Ellie, Max. Their faces flashed in her mind, pale, terrified, lost. The dark laughter crescendoed, clawing at her ears. Join us, it whispered. You are one of us now. She shouted. I am not like you. Each syllable cut through the noise, but the shadows were relentless. They surged, transforming into a swirling vortex of malice and distortion. Suddenly, an intense light broke through the gloom. It wrapped around her like a fragile cocoon. Lisa squinted, teeth gritted, heart hammering as the shadows retreated momentarily. But the light flickered like a faulty bulb, sending her heart spiraling. It was losing power. She had to act fast. Fight, Ellie, she urged, trying to steady her voice, though panic clawed at her insides. Max, hold on to her. We're coming. From somewhere in the depths of the blackened whirlwind, Ellie's voice reached out to her, thin and breaking. Mommy, I'm scared. Me too, sweetheart. But we're stronger together. We'll get out of this. Lisa felt her resolve surge. Max, trembling beside her, clutched Ellie's hand. His knuckles were white with fear, but his eyes shone with a flicker of defiance. It felt like a lifeline thrown into the tumultuous sea. Let us make them pay, he murmured, a strange determination blooming in his voice. With a surge of energy, Lisa felt the warmth within her ignite again. They had to confront the darkness head-on. With every ounce of her being, she willed the warm glow to expand, pressing against the encroaching shadows. I will not let you take my children. The shadows recoiled, howling like beasts cornered. The very fabric of the room distorted, shifting wildly between light and dark, a furious battle raging just beyond Lisa's grasp. But fear tangled with victory as she raised her hands. You can't have us. Just as she spoke, an image flashed in her mind, a glimmer of a child's laughter, sunlight peeking through trees, a promise of love. Rise, she roared, feeling strength coursing through her veins. In that moment, the shadows lashed out, slashing through the bright haze, ensnaring her ankles and dragging her back down. It burned, searing her skin like fire, cutting through her resolve. She screamed, part anger, part grief, every emotion flooding her senses. Yet Max's voice pierced the chaos, shaking her back from the brink. Mommy, don't give up. Lisa's breath hitched, raw and pounding in her chest. She couldn't afford to lose hope. Remember why they were fighting. Remember the light. With burning resolve, she forced her eyes shut against the chaos swirling around her, envisioning the warmth wrapping around her family like a protective shroud. Together, the words tumbled from her lips, igniting a chorus from Max and Ellie. The shadows paused, their feral laughter faltering, caught off guard by their united stand. Then, as if sensing their fear diminishing, the eyes shimmered brighter, piercing through the dim. You're weak without us. Mr. Hargrove's voice slithered through the dark. You don't even know how to live without the pain. Shut up, Lisa screamed, pushing back against the encroaching despair. You only represent what we could have. We choose hope. We choose love. The shadows writhed, their laughter morphing into agony, as if her defiance struck a wound in their very essence. Dark tendrils began to retract, their tight grip on her loosening. But just as victory felt close enough to grasp, the walls around them shifted again, blurring, revealing fragmented images of her past, their lives before the nightmare began. Moments of joy twisted into macabre mockeries as anguished faces leered back at her. No. Lisa's heart dropped into her stomach. The battle for survival thrummed wildly in her veins. The sharp realization coursed through her. Their dark power thrived on regrets, on fear. They weren't invincible, but what happened next would determine their fates. Time hung suspended, the edges of her reality thinning around them. With every ounce of strength, they pushed against the shadows that haunted them. Would they shatter the hold of despair, or would they be consumed forever? In the night's grip, Lisa stood defiant, heart racing, desperately trying to hold onto the fragile threads of hope as the shadows lunged again, hungering for her submission. The shadows surged once more, a tsunami of darkness clawing at Lisa, dragging her back toward an abyss that beckoned like a siren's call. Memory and fear twisted together, shadowy hands reaching for the love they threatened to tear away. Each tendril that brushed against her felt like ice, a stark reminder that the stakes rose ever higher. Stay with me, she shouted, voice cracking. Ellie and Max squeezed her hands tighter, their skin clammy and trembling, but connected, still alive. Mommy, Ellie wailed, her small frame quaking with terror. I can't see you. I'm right here. To hear you. Max yelled over the cacophony of the shadows, his voice cracking under pressure. Mom, we're still here. We're not lost. The ground beneath her trembled ominously, as if reflecting her fear. Each rumble echoed into the void, a disheartening reminder of their precarious situation. Focus on the light. Remember the days in the sun. Lisa pleaded, fighting against the darkness threatening to smother their resolve. But the shadows shifted again, morphing further into painful echoes of her past. Their voices blended like a haunting symphony. You left us, you didn't protect us, the words whipped around her, ice cold and sharp, each sting a reminder of failures etched deep in her soul. No, Lisa shouted into the storm, her voice shaky yet strong. I've got my children. I'm fighting for them. The shadows recoiled slightly, as if surprised by her conviction, but they quickly regrouped, their laughter rising, a sickly chorus filling the air. You think you can fight us? You've done nothing but fail. With each taunt, the darkness grew bolder, slashing toward them like vicious fangs. She felt the sting on her ankles, a burn that traveled straight to her heart. Fleeting visions of her children twisted in a grotesque ballet, old wounds reopening, memories wielding blades of despair. Don't let them win, Max screamed, taking a step toward the haze, standing in a line beside Ellie. They're lying. Mom, they're lying. We were family. Lisa's heart raced. Their voices, so innocent yet powerful, cut through the dark. Yes, family, she cried, finding the strength to push against the whirlpool of darkness pulling them apart. Family. The children screamed in unison, fists raised defiantly, positioning themselves against the shadows as if ready to fight. The radiant glow returning, their small sparks igniting the air. In that flicker of shared purpose, the shadows screeched in protest, their laughter turning shrill. You can't win with hollow dreams. Lisa felt the glow envelop her, warm and pulsing, reflecting their determination. Heart pounding, she summoned every ounce of love, washing over the shadows. We choose each other. You'll never break us. The air crackled. Brightness flared, driving back the encroaching tendrils, revealing lifeless forms of the fallen. Yet instead of horror, she felt a surge of power. The memories that had once shackled her became her armor. With burning clarity, she recognized that they were not just bloody echoes of failure. They were lessons forged through pain. Together, fight. The children's voices intertwined with hers, a symphony of rebellion. And then, the air split with a blinding flash. The shadows recoiling, screaming, the walls of despair cracking as light poured through, washing away bitterness. But just as victory tasted sweet on her lips, the ground beneath them began to split open, like a churning maw ready to swallow them whole. New eyes watched from the depths, a seething darkness still lurking, undeterred. Don't look away, she commanded, but her voice faltered, dimming in the flurry of movement. The glimmer that had brought them hope faltered, and Lisa felt the darkness encircling them again. What came next was unknown, but she knew they were not safe yet. What awaited in the depths below? Would they face a new embodiment of fear, or something even more wicked that played on their deepest regrets? Desperation clawed at her once more, and the darkness beneath was only beginning to reveal its true nature. The darkness roared like a beast, hungry and relentless. Lisa felt the tremors swell beneath her feet, a pulse of dread that pushed her heart into her throat. They had fought so hard, but now it felt like all their light was being siphoned away, leaving only shadows and a chilling voice echoing from below. Join us, it whispered, silky and sinister, wrapping around her thoughts like a vine. You don't have to fight anymore. Embrace the darkness. It's where you truly belong. Shut up, Max screamed, pulling Ellie closer, his eyes wide with terror. We won. Lisa's heart raced. The ground split further, revealing jagged black edges that wound like fangs, eager to pierce through their fragile bond. She grimaced at the sight, feeling her resolve waver. The shadows lurched, surging toward them, trails of darkness creeping around their ankles. Remember who you are? She urged, desperately searching their faces. The love we share, it's stronger than anything down there. Mommy, Ellie cried, her small voice barely audible over the rising din. I'm scared. I know, sweetie, but we're a team. Lisa squeezed the children's hands tighter. Together, we can do anything. The words tasted like hope, but the echoing laughter returned, mocking their efforts, circling them like vultures. You think your family can save you? They're just shadows themselves. Missteps of a mother who abandoned them. Why fight? Join us, and you can forget your pain. No, Lisa roared, shockwaves reverberating through her. A sudden surge of energy sparked within her. I want to give in. You can't have us. As if in response, the ground heaved again, and with it came a cacophony of shrieks that coursed through her limbs like ice water. The dimensional fabric around them shimmered, and images flared to life, a blink of the past that played like a warped film reel. Each memory revealed a moment of neglect, of turning away when Ellie had called, of missed chances with Max, guilt sliced through her. A knife she couldn't escape. See, you failed them, the shadows hissed, growing nearer, savoring the taste of her pain. They are better off without you now. Lisa cried out, desperation clawing at her throat. She had spent so long buried beneath her self-doubt, but the truth was dawning on her. This was not the time for regret. It was a fight for survival, a battle where she needed to reclaim her strength. "Look at us," she shouted, finding their eyes once more. "We're all we need. Together we stand. Together we face whatever this is. Family is everything. Family." Their voices rang out, clearer despite the encroaching shadows. In that fierce unity, a blinding light erupted from them, a warm pillar slicing through the darkness, momentarily halting its advance. The shadows writhed and shrieked, recoiling away from the sheer brilliance of their connection, but it wasn't enough. A rumble of fury echoed deep from below, the abhorrence morphing into something even more grotesque. What crawled up from the depths was not merely darkness. It was a figure of twisted horror, eyes glimmering like coals, a mouth wide with sharpened teeth that dripped with malice. "Your light cannot save you," it snarled, its voice low and guttural. "I am not just your past, I am your fate." Lisa's breath stalled, terror freezing her muscles. What was this thing that threatened to break their resolve? Could they really triumph over such a chilling presence? The shadows whispered sweet poison behind her, yet in front stood the terror-made flesh, ready to strike. "Stay close," she whispered urgently to her children, an unfamiliar dread pooling in her stomach. With fear echoing in her heart, she knew the next choice would shape their destiny. What was this ultimate test? Where would the shadows lead them? Only the darkness knew, and it was just the beginning. The creature loomed before them, an embodiment of devoured dreams and festering memories. Lisa's heart thundered, each beat a frantic cry for help. As the shadow's gnarled form twisted and swayed, an unseen pressure pressed down on her, a wave of despair washing over her like a suffocating fog. "Mommy," Ellie whimpered, clutching Lisa's hand tighter, her small body trembling. "Just breathe, my love," Lisa urged, forcing strength into her voice despite the dread pooling around her like a dark lake. In that moment, she realized the light they had conjured was not just a defense. It was a flicker of their shared love, a love that could guide them through the torment. "Together," Max yelled, his voice a spark of defiance. "Remember, we are stronger together." "Yes," Lisa shouted, the words igniting a fire in her spirit. "We are a family, and we won't let you take us." With that declaration, the soft glow around them pulsed erratically, until it erupted into a searing beam. The darkness recoiled, but the creature's yellow eyes narrowed, studying them with a malicious curiosity. "Foolish mortals," it hissed, its voice dripping with venom. "You cannot hope to fight destiny." The shadows writhed violently, lashing out as tendrils of darkness snaked around Lisa and her children. Fear clawed at Lisa's mind, pounding against her resolve. But she clung to their hands, their bond a lifesaver in a storm of despair. "Let go of us," she cried, feeling the darkness crawl higher, its icy grip seeping into her skin. The ground trembled again, pulling beneath them, and the chasm yawned wider, giving birth to more grotesque forms. Memories coalesced into figures, familiar faces suddenly twisted and aching, pleading and angry. Friends long lost, family members she had hurt, they lingered in the edges of her vision, their mouths moving in silent screams. "See what you've lost," the creature taunted, its glee palpable. "See the price of your failures?" "No," Max shouted, summoning his courage. "We want to listen. Your strength lies in our fear, and we refuse to give it to you." With those words, the light surged once more, scattering the shadows like ashes in the wind. But it was a flickering flame, uncertain. Lisa could sense it. The creature's presence throbbed with power, feeding on every doubt swirling within her. The shadows thrashed wildly, reeling against their retreating light, but the figures of her past drew closer, their sorrow infecting the air with despair. "Mommy, please," Ellie cried as her young voice quivered, strands of doubt creeping back into Lisa's heart. "I don't want them to hurt you. I'm scared." "No," Lisa said, refusing to look back at the faces. She couldn't. "We are not defined by our past. We shape our present." The world around them trembled. The creature let out a guttural snarl, vibrating the ground beneath their feet. "Then embrace your fate. Abandon this lie. You think you can fight me? You belong to the shadows. Stay with me," Lisa yelled, pouring every ounce of her determination into her words. "We are love. We are light." In the chaotic surge, she felt it, a surge of warmth from her children, tightening their grip around her. Suddenly, she understood. The fear could explode into power if shared. The shadows writhed in fury, unable to bear the energy radiating from their unity. Together, they repeated, their voices a chorus, drowning out the madness around them. But even as their collective light surged, the ground opened wider, threatening to pull them down. The dark figure shrieked, its anger boiling, and Lisa realized with a bone-deep chill that the battle was far from won. They could escape the abyss, but at what cost? And with that thought reeling through her mind, she could feel her legs begin to slip, the darkness lurking below now with open jaws, waiting to swallow them whole. Would they descend into the void, or could they rise above it all? What choice lay ahead, and who or what would they have to confront next? The abyss widened, a gaping maw ready to consume them. As the darkness surged, Lisa's heart raced, pounding against her ribs like a frantic animal. She squeezed her children's hands tighter, the warmth of their skin grounding her reality amidst the encroaching shadow. The air thickened. It felt as if time had stretched, each second elongating with the weight of dread. The creature's hissing laughter reverberated through the cavern, echoing off unseen walls. You think you can conquer what you are? You are bound to your past, just like the rest of them. Max, Ellie, hold tight, Lisa shouted, but her own voice trembled, a fragile thread in the darkness threatening to snap. The shadows shrieked, pulling back slightly as the family's light pushed forward, creating a thin barrier between them and the void's chaos. But it was weakening. Lisa felt it. The darkness pulsing against their light was not just fear, it was a reminder of everything they'd lost, every mistake they had made. Suddenly, the figures of those haunting her past surged, faces twisted in agony or resentment. She saw her father, eyes wide with disappointment, her childhood friend, a betrayal dancing on his lips, her ex-husband, filled with bitterness. The feeling of drowning became fierce. The shadows whispered hurtful words, clawing at her resolve, piercing barbs aimed straight at her heart. You are nothing without us. They murmured, voices overlapping. You failed us all. No, Lisa bellowed, voice cracking as she struggled against their grasp. Her breath came quick and shallow, panic rising. I want to be broken by the failures. I am not my past. With that surge of defiance, she channeled all of her emotions, anger, regret, love into the light. It sparked, flaring brighter, momentarily pushing back the shadows that clung to them, like cockroaches retreating from sudden brightness. The creature snarled, its eyes flaring with a chilling hunger. It advanced, inching closer, forcing the family to the precipice. Strength? Weakness? Such simpletons. Its voice was low, sinister, echoing through the cavern as it inched closer, mouth curling into a predator's grin. And then the ground quaked violently, jerking Lisa and her children closer to the chasm's edge. It's now or never, she shouted over the cacophony. Their world was falling apart around them, and she could feel herself tumbling into despair. Together, Max yelled again, somehow louder than the chaos. No shadows, only light. We can do this, Ellie whimpered, but Lisa could feel the child's little fingers tightening around hers, finding strength even as fear clutched her heart. The three of them dared to look into the terrifying void, drawing from the spark of hope igniting within them. Now, they shouted in unison, channeling every ounce of love and belief, as they tightened their grip and thrust their hands forward. The beam burst forth, a brilliant explosion of light that sliced through the encroaching darkness. But just as they thought they could win, a shadow slashed through the light, thick as tar. Lisa felt it grip her ankle with icy fingers, dragging her down. Let go, she screamed, fighting against the force that tempted her to surrender. Mommy! Ellie's scream filled her ears, panic thick. A momentary silence smothered the world around her. The creature recoiled, seemingly stunned, and then it lunged, swirling around them like a storm. In that instant, Lisa locked eyes with the swirling darkness, fury ignited in her chest. You are nothing. We are family, and no shadow can take that from us. The light flickered. Desperation clawed at the edges of her heart. How long could they hold on? She could feel the creature's hunger, its intense desire to consume them. With every ounce of strength, they pressed outward, praying for deliverance, yet just as they thought they could push above it all, The ground trembled again, tipping precariously, inching them closer to the abyss. "Just believe," Max shouted, the defiance ringing clear amidst the chaos. And in that moment, the fissure below them yawned wider. The shadows beckoned, tempting, and the terrifying question loomed. Could family truly triumph in the face of such darkness? As they fought, Lisa's grip faltered, and she felt herself tilt, the edge calling her closer. The last desperate scream of the creature echoed around them, revealing a sinister truth. This fight was only beginning. The shadows roared like wild animals, a tempest of darkness swirling around Lisa and her children. Every scream echoed, but still their resolve pulsed stronger, fueled by the fire of love and determination. Lisa's heart raced, pounding in tandem with the frantic energy of her family. They were together, and that bond was a lifeline they wouldn't let go of. "No, we are not alone," Lisa cried, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We're fighting this together." Max and Ellie, eyes wide with fear yet unyielding, nodded fiercely. The shadows writhed and lunged, but Lisa felt the thin warmth of their hands radiating strength. In that moment, she understood. The shadows fed on fear and regret, not just hers, but her children's too. The weight of memories pressed down like an icy shroud, but no longer would they submit to it. "Max, Ellie," she yelled, urgency lacing her voice. "Remember all those times we laughed? All those wonderful days? We're not just our past. We are more." The glow around them flared even brighter, igniting the dark. Banish the shadows. The realization struck her. This was the key. Fight for what they were now, not what they had lost. Together, they shouted, the walls vibrating under the power of their voices, each syllable ripping apart the darkness. Lisa squeezed their hands tighter, feeling the warmth radiate between them like a beacon. The creature reared back, shrieking, its snarls piercing through the murky air. "You think your love can conquer me? You will regret defying your past." But Lisa stood firm, pushing against the shadows wrapped around her. "No, we will not regret. We will rise." Max's small yet defiant voice echoed. "Family is our strength." Ellie joined in, her voice ringing clear, "And we choose love." The words resonated within Lisa, invigorating her soul. In that blast of unity, the glowing light burst forward, slicing through the oppressive shadows, scattering them like the dawn dispels night. The creature howled, its form flickering in and out of existence. "Please, my loves, stand strong," Lisa shouted, feeling the surge of power rippling through them all. The shared warmth expanded, enveloping them like a comforting hug, and pushing against the encroaching darkness that clawed its way back. Rocks and shards of darkness crumbled around them. The ground cracked and trembled, but they marched forward as one feet planted, hearts aligned. "Light comes from love," Lisa yelled, raising her chin defiantly. The echoes of despair began to dim, replaced by a song of hope that reverberated through their bodies. Suddenly, a surge of light erupted from deep within, brighter than anything they'd faced before. The shadows shrieked and recoiled as the light enveloped them. Lisa could feel its warmth extending, and it grew, weaving through their bond, uniting them in a sun-like glow. Together, they shouted, Lisa, Max, and Ellie, each voice carving through the shadows, met with roaring silence in return. And just like that, a blinding pulse of light raised the darkness, obliterating every tendril, igniting the room in an invincible glow. The shadows shrieked in a chorus of despair, twisting back as their grip shattered completely. "No!" The creature howled, panic in its voice, and Lisa felt the pressure of fear begin to dissipate. The twisted visions of her past flickered out, dissolving into harmless smoke. "Your grasp on us is finished," Lisa announced, arms reaching forward, channeling every ounce of hope into the brilliant light that cut through the dark. In one final surge of brightness, the ground beneath them split apart, jagged edges fading as the abyss crumbled. The shadows unraveled completely, their hold fading into quiet nothingness. The last echoes of anguished laughter faded, leaving behind only silence. The light enveloped them, washing over their skin like a soothing tide, embroiling them in peace. Lisa breathed deeply, relief flooding her system like cool rain after a relentless drought. Together, They stood there a family, whole and intact, bound by love, unshackled from the weight of despair. The darkness had threatened to swallow them, but their unity had powered their escape. With each heartbeat, Lisa felt freedom swell within her chest. She turned to Max and Ellie, their faces shining with clarity. "We did it," Lisa whispered, tears of joy streaming down her cheeks. Together, Ellie echoed, the word blossoming sweetly in the air. "Always," Max added, his voice filled with promise. The shadow that once loomed over them faded into distant whispers, remnants of fear that no longer had a grip on their lives. The sun streamed brightly through the window where shadows had haunted, brighter than ever. "Let us go outside," Lisa declared, the air filled with something new: hope, renewal, and a future that lay ahead. As they stepped into a world untainted by shadows, a new day began, vibrant and full of potential. They had faced darkness together, and now the light was theirs to keep. Lisa took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of her children beside her. They had faced the abyss and emerged victorious. The bond they shared was unbreakable, and the love that flowed between them was a promise that would light their way forward. Together, you need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support truly means everything.